Welcome, deep divers. Today, we're tapping into something really fundamental, aren't we? This deep-seated human desire to know what's coming next.
Absolutely. It's been with us forever, from ancient oracles, maybe looking at the
Right.
stars.
Today's, super complex AI algorithms crunching just mountains of data. We're constantly, almost obsessively trying to peek around the corner.
But that raises the big question, the one we're really digging into today. How much of that future can we actually get a handle on? Or even, influence?
Exactly. And how much just stays, well, stubbornly unpredictable, no matter what we do.
It's that tension, isn't it? Between wanting control, wanting that clear path, and the reality that the world is just messy, complex.
Yeah, and our sources today really highlight that. We've got a fascinating mix of perspectives here.
We do. We'll look at the power of planning, of strategic foresight, how we build systems to try and manage things.
But then we'll flip it. We have to confront the limits, right?
Okay.
Those massive surprises, the game changers that nobody saw coming.
Black Swan events, some might call them, that will explore various angles.
So think of this as your guide to navigating that.
Yeah.
How we try to forecast, how we adapt, how we make calls when things are just foggy.
And our goal, really, is to pull out the key insights, give you the shortcuts to understanding this balance between foresight and flexibility.
We want to spark some practical wisdom, maybe
Yeah.
a few aha moments, help you understand planning, risk, and, well, the curveballs life throws.
It's about getting better at engaging with the future, not just reacting to it, moving beyond just hoping for the best.
Okay, let's get into it. First big theme, the lure of the predictable, building systems and strategies. It's totally natural to feel overwhelmed by the unknown, right?
Completely. Chaos isn't comfortable.
But what's inspiring here is how ingenious we've been in developing tools, frameworks, ways to bring some structure to it all.
There's this strong belief, maybe even an aspiration running through these sources that, yeah, we can get better at understanding and shaping things if we approach it right.
It's about finding that compass, even when it feels like you're in a storm.
Exactly. It's about that human drive for order. We build models, we look for patterns, we create systems precisely to try and tame that uncertainty.
So a lot of success, in business or even personally, isn't just luck. It's built on rigorous thinking, strategic design, proactive creation.
Let's start with those foundations of strategic insight. Crafting a compass for business. Hamilton Helmer's 7 Powers jumps right in.
Yeah, he talks about providing a strategy compass. And I love his description. Simple, but not simplistic.
That nails it, doesn't it? It suggests there are learnable, structured ways to get ahead, even in a crazy, complex business world. It's not just some kind of magic.
And he focuses on advantages you can actually measure, almost quantify, like switching costs.
Right. His definition is key. The value loss expected by a customer that would be incurred from switching to an alternate supplier. It's not just loyalty, it's the pain of leaving.
That's the real insight, isn't it? The hidden friction. You can build it yourself or figure out how to reduce it for your competitors' customers.
And it's not abstract. Think about those procedural costs. The SAP example is perfect.
Oh, totally. Anyone who's lived through an ERP implementation knows this. Imagine a big company using SAP. Everyone's trained, workflows are built around it.
Now switch to something else. The retraining, the disruption. Helmer calls it organizational discontent. It's a huge, predictable barrier.
So a company sticking with a vendor isn't just inertia. It's often a calculated decision based on those very real predictable costs. It's friction by design.
Exactly. So Helmer shows how to build walls around current customers. But then you've got Kim and Marborn with Blue Ocean Strategy, a totally different angle.
Yeah, they're not about fighting in the existing market, the red ocean, where everyone's bleeding. They're about creating entirely new market spaces, blue oceans. No competitors yet.
And here's the really cool part, the big aha, I think. They say, don't just focus on your current customers.
Right. Look at the non-customers. Understand why they refuse to buy from your industry. What are their pain points? What intimidates them?
Find those answers, and you can actually forecast untapped demand. You spot opportunities everyone else is missing because they're just looking at the existing pie.
It's like finding a hidden continent of buyers by figuring out what they don't like about the current options. That's real strategic foresight.
And they stress it's about value innovation, linking the new stuff directly to what buyers actually care about. It's not just about fancy new tech.
Which connects nicely to Michael Porter's idea in competitive strategy. He brings it down to the human level. Predicting competitor moves, by understanding their leaders.
Yeah, understanding their assumptions, their goals, how they're likely to react based on their history. It's almost psychological forecasting.
So you mentioned the example. A CEO had success cutting costs before, so that becomes their go-to move next time there's trouble.
Exactly. We've all seen that, right?
Yeah,
Someone leans on what worked for them personally in the past. It creates a predictable bias.
you can almost forecast their next move based on their personal playbook. It's human behavioral forecasting. Their past success becomes a predictor.
It's not necessarily stubbornness, just learned behavior under pressure. People stick with what feels familiar and successful to them.
But that predictability can be a weakness if the game changes, right? Which leads us to another angle. Systematic learning and control. Processes for learning and control. Reducing uncertainty systematically.
This is where Eric Ries and the Lean Startup come in. His concept of validated learning is central, especially when things are really uncertain.
It's not just build it and they will come. It's about learning systematically what actually works, making testable predictions, using real data.
Right. If your growth engine is supposed to be viral, you focus your effort on things that measurably affect that viral loop, not just generic marketing spend.
Targeted, data-driven, and that wisdom of the 5 whys, digging down to the root cause of problems.
It creates a natural feedback loop, as Reese calls it. You slow down, fix the underlying issue properly, then speed up again. It's a predictable improvement cycle, like debugging your business in real time.
This idea of structured management, Peter Drucker was all over that too, wasn't he? Emphasizing effectiveness.
Yeah, doing the right things well, not just doing things right, which is mere efficiency. Big difference.
He pushed for management by objectives and self-control, aligning everyone's job toward the big picture goals of the business.
And measuring performance by actual contribution to the success of the enterprise, not just busyness.
And his view on profit, not just a goal, but the cost of the future, the cost of staying in business.
That reframes everything, doesn't it? Profit isn't the end game, it's the necessary fuel to keep playing the game. It's a predictable requirement for survival, a huge insight.
Okay, let's bring it down to the personal level. Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits, he talks about self-awareness and independent will.
Uniquely human capacities, he argues. They let us actually choose our habits, make and break them, take control.
Which is so empowering. Focus on your circle of influence, what you can actually control. Make small commitments and keep them.
He says that's how you elevate your life by conscious endeavor. It's a framework for personal predictability, managing yourself, not just your time.
Prioritizing the important, not just the urgent. Quadrant 2 stuff. Being the architect of your own outcomes. Deliberately creating your future.
So we see these frameworks everywhere. Now, what about market signals? Identifying market signals and enduring principles, patterns in the chaos.
Burton Malkiel's A Random Walk Down Wall Street finds some interesting patterns, even amidst the randomness.
Yeah, he points to evidence that a portfolio of stocks with relatively low earnings multiples produces above average rates of return, even adjusting for risk.
So while short-term markets are wild, he suggests there's some systematic underlying patterns. Maybe not perfectly predictive day-to-day, but offering an edge over the long haul. A glimmer of predictability.
And then there's the predictability of human psychology and persuasion. David Ogilvy.
Right. Ogilvy on advertising. He mentions how applying Gallup's research findings on what makes people read ads led to huge success for clients. Predictable responses based on understanding psychology.
It's not guesswork. It's based on research into how people tick. Seth Godin echoes this in Permission Marketing.
His point is, if you're upfront with people, we'll watch your actions and send relevant messages based on that data, and they agree.
Then they're much more likely to engage. It becomes a predictable relationship built on transparency and consent. Trust leads to anticipated behavior.
It's like a mutual agreement on predictability.
Finally, personal finance. The Millionaire Next Door, Stanley and Danko. They found common denominators among wealth builders.
Yeah, concrete patterns. Like being a businessman who has lived in the same town for all of his adult life.
Yeah.
Or being a compulsive saver and investor.
These aren't secrets. They're statistical patterns suggesting predictable paths to building wealth. A kind of blueprint.
So across the board business, personal habits, markets, finance, we see this powerful human drive to find, create, and leverage predictable systems. We crave order.
We really do. But, and it's a big but, just as we get comfortable with these systems, reality tends to throw us a curveball.
Exactly. Our sources are equally clear about the other side of the coin. The world is full of Nonlinearity, complexity, and unpredictability.
The really big events, the ones that change everything, they often mock our models and plans. They reveal the limits of our foresight, sometimes painfully.
Which brings us neatly to the shadow of the unpredictable, when systems fail and events surprise.
This is where we confront the humbling stuff, the moments where prediction just falls apart.
Let's start with the sudden and the unforeseen. No one could have anticipated. The IBM PC example from Seven Powers is stark.
Right. Launched in '81, sold 750,000 in the first year, which was good, but Helmer explicitly says no one could have anticipated the market explosion that followed.
It wasn't just off by a bit, it was a whole different scale of success, completely unforeseen, a true disruption.
And failure can be just as unpredictable. The Ford Edsel, detailed in Business Adventures. Ford poured everything into it. Market research, design, hype.
And it was a legendary flop. They basically admitted, if we knew why people weren't buying it, we'd have done something about it.
Kind of funny in retrospect, but deeply humbling. All that planning, all that money, and they still couldn't predict basic consumer taste. The lure of the predictable hits a wall.
Even with cutting-edge tech, simple things get missed. The SpaceX story from Ashley Vance's book on Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, the rocket body crumpling during air transport because engineers forgot to factor in what the pressurized plane would do.
A silly mistake, Vance calls it, born of excitement and desperation, but with massive, costly, unforeseen consequences. Even geniuses overlook stuff.
And sometimes success itself is accidental. Like Musk choosing the Tesla location Vance notes, it ended up being fortuitous, not purely strategic genius. You can't plan luck.
No, you really can't. And this uncertainty bleeds into even high-stakes situations, like that Texas Gulf insider trading case, also from Business Adventures.
Fascinating case. The defense argued the initial drill results made finding a mine just a sporting proposition, not a sure thing. They stressed the notorious fickleness of first drill holes, a scientific uncertainty.
But the SEC came back hard. They said it was an overwhelming probability, comparing it to betting on a doped horse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have experts looking at the same data and coming to wildly different conclusions about certainty versus risk. It shows how subjective foresight can be when real unknowns are involved. No clear consensus.
That disagreement is a perfect lead-in to the next point. Systemic flaws and cognitive blind spots. Simple realizations blocked when our own thinking gets in the way.
Richard Rumelt nails this in Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, looking at the 2008 crisis. He blames inside view premises.
Like the belief that economic histories of other nations and other times had little relevance to modern America. Just incredible arrogance, really.
Well, or maybe just overconfidence. Ideas about the Fed's expertise or deep and liquid markets. Rumelt says these doctrines blocked the simple realization that what had happened to others was happening again.
We blinded ourselves to obvious historical patterns because of our own narratives. The future wasn't unknowable. Our minds were just closed to the risks.
Paul Krugman points out another blind spot in A Country is Not a Company. How executives misuse analogies.
Right, the false analogies between countries and corporations, especially regarding trade and jobs.
The common idea. More exports equals more jobs. More imports equals fewer jobs. Krugman argues that's a massive oversimplification of complex economics.
And it leads to consistently bad predictions about job growth. A seemingly logical analogy turns out to be deeply misleading. Another aha moment right there.
And then there's Enron, the smartest guys in the room. Talk about an illusion of profitability and failed predictions.
They jumped into things like video on demand with zero experience, facing problems that baffled industry veterans. Pure hubris.
And their CFO, Andy Fasto, was a master of obfuscation. Lengthy, nearly unintelligible answers to hide the truth about the business.
So the unpredictability wasn't just external market forces. It was deliberately manufactured internally, a smokescreen over fundamental weakness.
John Maynard Keynes had a pretty dim view of prediction in markets too, didn't he, in the general theory?
He called professional investment a game of hazard.
Yeah.
Just brilliant phrasing.
He said investors end up just anticipating what average opinion expects the average opinion to be, not looking at real long-term value, herd mentality.
It's a profound insight into market cycles. He argued genuine long-term forecasting is so difficult as to be scarcely practicable, leading to bigger risks, bigger mistakes.
Markets driven by fear and, to a lesser extent, greed, as Michael Lewis also saw in Liar's Poker, not rational analysis.
Keynes even questioned if we could avoid huge employment swings without a major shift in investor psychology. It's a stark picture of emotionally driven unpredictability.
And finally, we just have to accept the ever-changing landscape. adapt or perish. Things are speeding up.
Stanley McChrystal's team of teams and Hamill and Prahalad's work on strategic flexibility really drive this home. Technology is increasing nonlinearity, complexity, and unpredictability.
Actions now have vastly more potential outcomes. It's not a simple billiard ball problem anymore. It's like hundreds of collisions happening at once.
In that world, old structures like chains of command just slow you down. Departmental silos block the quick exchanges you need to compete.
It's a fundamental shift. The old models of predictability just don't cut it anymore. The ground is constantly shifting beneath our feet.
Which means even successful strategies don't last. Lofley and Martin, playing to win, make that crucial point. No strategy lasts forever.
Strategies need continual improvement and updating because competitors copy you. What made you distinctive gets diluted.
The P&G example with Folgers losing out to Starbucks and Keurig is perfect. A winning strategy became vulnerable as the market changed. It's a constant adaptation race.
And Theodore Levitt's marketing myopia warns about getting too narrow, like the oil industry assuming it was indispensable.
Right. They got blindsided because they weren't looking at new and better ways of serving oil's present customers. They missed the disruptive shifts because they were too focused on their current predictable product. Self-imposed blinders again.
So, okay, we have these tools for prediction, but we also have this massive wall of unpredictability. What do we actually do?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sources don't just leave us hanging. They suggest the best path is blending that foresight with real flexibility, being planned but ready to pivot.
Which brings us to our final section, navigating the future, balancing foresight and flexibility, moving from diagnosis to action. How to operate smartly in this messy reality.
Building resilience, adaptability, not just surviving uncertainty, but maybe even thriving in it.
Let's start with strategies for mitigating risk and uncertainty, preparing for the unknown unknowns. Howard Marks, the most important thing eliminated.
He talks about risk control and margin for error as hidden assets. You only see their value when the tide goes out.
And his saying, never forget the 6-foot-tall man who drowned crossing the stream that was 5 feet deep on average. Just brilliant.
Such a powerful reminder. Don't just plan for the average. Consider the extremes. What's the deepest part of that stream? That's navigating real uncertainty.
His strategies are defensive. Buying only when price is well below value, avoiding too much leverage, diversifying, building buffers against nasty surprises.
Preparing for the worst while working for the best. And managing the human side of risk is key, too. Benjamin Graham, the intelligent investor.
He says success isn't about genius IQ or inside info. It's about having a sound intellectual framework for making decisions, and crucially, the ability to keep emotions from corroding that framework.
Build a system to fight your own irrationality, your own stock market folly. Don't get swept up in the crowd's fear or greed.
He even suggests practical hedges, like a tiny allocation to a precious metals fund, to add some sparkle when other things tank. It's about diversification and emotional discipline. That discipline is your biggest asset.
And sometimes, the smartest move is just patience. Reid Hoffman and Chris Ye in Blitzscaling.
Their point, just because you can blitzscale doesn't mean that you should. Look at LinkedIn.
Right. They deliberately went slow and steady, even when people told them to hurry up. Why?
Because their reading of the market was that competitors didn't truly understand the power of a professional social network. They had a unique insight and stuck to it.
And that hypothesis ended up being proven by later events. Huge value in reasoned counter-prediction and strategic patience, knowing when not to follow the herd. A great aha for entrepreneurs.
This ties into the human element in decision-making, aligning purpose and perspective. How we frame decisions matters.
Clayton Christensen, how will you measure your life, he says, ask.
Yeah.
What assumptions must prove true for this project to work?
Shifts the focus, doesn't it? Away from just hoping the spreadsheet numbers look good, towards actively testing your critical assumptions, cheaply and quickly.
It guides strategy through learning and adaptation, not just blind faith. Christensen also talks about balancing deliberate, planned strategies with emergent, responsive ones.
Acknowledging you can't script everything. Good strategy leaves room for discovery, for pivots based on what you learn.
And getting diverse perspectives is vital. Patrick Lencioni, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. He champions enlightened disagreements.
Especially when there's no science here, like arguing about how many new customers to aim for. The leader's job isn't to have all the answers, but to facilitate the debate, get the input.
And then make a clear call the team can commit to. You leverage the group's intelligence to navigate the fog, knowing the best path might come from constructive conflict.
Going way back, Sun Tzu's Art of War talks about strategic potential. Seeing the hidden structure, the inherent power in a situation that you can activate.
Which requires good planning to bring it out. It's about seeing deeper than the surface.
And Sun Tzu stresses self-cultivation. The leader's character, their mindset, is as vital as their resources, especially when things get unpredictable. It's who you are that matters in a crisis.
Okay, finally, let's talk adaptability as a core capability, staying nimble in the face of change. This feels critical today.
Absolutely. Christensen, again, in The Innovator's Dilemma, he points out that tech progress often outpaces what mainstream customers actually want or can use.
So today's underperforming niche product might become tomorrow's mainstream competitor. A predictable pattern, actually.
Which means companies must create new capabilities. Your existing processes, your current strengths can become liabilities if the game changes and you don't adapt. Continuous adaptation is essential.
The aha is realizing that standing still, even if you're successful now, is basically planning to fail later.
We see visionary adaptation with leaders like Jeff Bezos. The For and the Everything store describe him as seeing the future clearer than most.
Amazon's marketplace model is a prime example. Long-term vision, adapting to market dynamics, even turning their own inventory business into a sort of marketing loss leader, rethinking the whole industry.
And Steve Jobs at Apple, making that strategic alliance with Bill Gates, as mentioned in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It went against all of Apple's previous thinking.
But it was a crucial act of strategic flexibility, adapting to the reality of the situation. Sometimes adaptation means doing the unthinkable, even collaborating with a rival. Takes guts.
And for whole organizations, Hamel and Prehalad noted how HP allowed different emergent cultures in its divisions, fitting their specific industries alongside the main corporate culture.
That's key, isn't it? A core vision, yes, but flexibility in how things work on the ground. Adapting locally to dynamic demands. A dance between structure and agility.
So deep divers, wrapping this up, we've really journeyed through this core tension, haven't we? Our drive to predict versus the world's inherent unpredictability.
Yeah, we've seen how systematic thinking, strategic planning, understanding behavior, these can give us a compass. They provide structure, real insights.
But we've also faced the limits, the biases, the sudden shocks, the accelerating change, things that make our neat forecasts look silly sometimes. Market explosions, the Edsel, Keynes's game of hazard. Uncertainty is just part of the deal.
So the big takeaway seems to be, success isn't about having a perfect crystal ball.
No, it's more about building the capacity for rigorous thinking and strategic action while also cultivating flexibility, humility, and disciplined risk management.
It's this constant dance, right, between deliberate design and emergent discovery. Planning your steps, but being ready to improvise when the music changes.
Exactly. So as you think about applying this, here's a final thought for you to chew on. What simple realization about your own challenges, your own opportunities, might your current mental models, your ingrained assumptions be blocking you from seeing right now?
And following from that, what small, testable prediction could you maybe make this week just to start challenging one of those assumptions, to perhaps open up some new possibilities you hadn't considered?
Something to think about. Let that curiosity fuel your next steps.